Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. And if it's your first time here, I'm Janetta, an author who loves to draw. On my channel, I focus on combining storytelling with art. If that's something you're interested in, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let's get to it.
SSMD So It Begins, Chapter 31, Meet Monster Mom. Dear Intimidated, there isn't a set time frame for when you should start dating. It's more about you being ready than a specific lapse of time. If you feel you are ready, then that's the time to start. As far as potential mates meeting your children, tread carefully. You don't want to start bringing different men around your children. In fact, you may want to wait until you truly know the guy and have maintained a healthy relationship with him that is heading in the direction that you expect it to go. Even then, proceed cautiously because the last thing you want is for your kids to get hurt in any way. Good luck, the SSMD advisor. Eva. I learned that Xavier's close-knit family was overjoyed that he had moved back home. He had been living in Atlanta for the last 6 years and moved back to start a division of his company here. Having dinner with the Collins stirred up a little guilt since I had opted out of my own family's monthly dinner last weekend. I had let Mike walk back in and funk up my new life. I needed to get back on track. After dinner, though I was enjoying myself, I decided to leave. Being with Xavier's family was too comfortable. On top of that, Xavier was too engaging. I said my goodbyes, accepted all the friendly hugs, then followed Xavier to the door. Hope you enjoyed yourself, he said, following me out the door. I did. Your mom is a good cook. Well, thanks again and good night. I turned to walk away, but he fell into step beside me. I'll walk you home. At the quizzical look on my face, he said, I know I can see you walk home from here, but when my mom asks did I walk you home, I don't want to lie to her. We reached my front door. Well, mission completed, I said and opened the door. Good night. Good night, Eva. Sharon. That's an interesting question, Sharon, which I'm going to hand back to you. Are you your husband's keeper? Was it part of your responsibility when both Eva and Leah told you about Philip to confront him? Sharon looked at the marriage counselor. She fought back the anger because she knew it was an avoidance tool. I should have confronted him. She looked at Philip and said, I should have said, after I've given up everything I wanted to help build the life you wanted, after I dedicated myself to making you and the kids happy, after I have loved you with my entire being, how can you even think of dishonoring me and this marriage? How can you embarrass me by going after my best friends? How can you expect me to believe you love me when your actions are so hurtful? You could cheat with anyone, but you chose to not only try to destroy our relationship, but to try to destroy one of my closest friendships. I could have said all that, but I was angry, hurt, and offended that you put me in the position to have to say any of those things. She looked back at the doctor. Since the day we met, I have been his keeper. I am responsible for everything. I even found him his job. So now he wants me to take on the responsibility of keeping him from cheating. Fine. Then he needs to take on some responsibilities because I'm done doing it all. Oh, and just for the record, if he cheats or I even hear of him hitting on someone, he won't ever have to worry about cheating on me again. How is that for being responsible? Leah. After having time to calm down and think things through, Leah decided that she was going after everything she wanted, and she would give Mario a chance and hope for the best. She called him up and arranged for them to go out after she finished up at the cafe on Saturday. It was Friday, and she had just gotten off the phone with him. He'd wanted to come over, but she had to be at the cafe early the next morning to start baking. She knew that having him over would keep her from turning in early like she planned. The next day, she met Alana at the cafe promptly at 4 a.m. I'm glad to see you are punctual, Alana said. Leah wondered what her boss would say if he knew she was able to get here by 4 a.m., but rarely showed up by her 9 a.m. start time at work. Leah enjoyed spending the early morning baking, and when the cafe opened at 8, she had her cupcakes ready to serve. Her day was going well, and her thoughts were starting to drift to her date with Mario when she looked up and found Mario's mother looking back at her. Her eyes didn't have an ounce of warmth in them. She didn't greet Leah but said, "I need a minute of your time." She walked around the counter and into the back, sure that Leah would follow. Leah hesitated a moment. Mario's mother had never liked her, and she never knew why. She looked over at Alana, who shrugged her shoulders to indicate she didn't have a clue what her mother wanted. Leah found her in Alana's office sitting behind the desk. "Have a seat, Leah. What I have to say won't take long." "All right," Leah said, taking a seat in front of the desk. "So, what do you want to say to me? You don't want me going into business with Alana?" "I couldn't care less. I want you to leave Mario alone. He belongs with Carla, and your being in the picture is delaying them reconciling." Leah shook her head. "I should have known," she thought to herself. She stood. "Now that you got that off your chest, I have work to do. Don't blow off my request, Leah. You don't want me as an enemy. Believe me when I tell you that." Leah left without responding or throwing up her middle finger, though she wanted to do so in the worst way.
Chapter 32.
Some enchanted evening. Eva. Thursday afternoon was dark and gloomy. I finished working and something told me that the storm that was brewing would be nothing nice. I pulled out my lanterns and kerosene, checked my flashlights, and plugged in all my electronics to make sure the batteries were juiced. The last storm took out all the lights, and I was caught with one candle. This time I was ready. I turned on the television just as the weatherman confirmed a bad thunderstorm was heading my way. By 5 that evening, it was pitch black outside. I called and ordered a pizza, then took an early shower. 30 minutes later, I heard the first boom of thunder, and the sky opened up and poured out heavy rain. A symphony of thunder played as lightning danced across the sky. One thunderous boom, and the lights went out. I quickly grabbed one of the flashlights and used it to light the lanterns. I set them strategically around the living room and was pleased at the warm light they emitted. The doorbell rang, and I grabbed the money to pay for the pizza. "Xavier," I said, surprised to see him at my door. He held a huge umbrella in one hand and a flickering flashlight in the other. We both ducked a bit when an earth-shattering crack of thunder resounded so loud it felt like the earth shook. "Come in," I said quickly, stepping aside and letting him in. He carefully closed the umbrella. He probably was being careful not to splash me and cause me to have a flashback to our first meeting. I just made it home and the lights went out. I still have stuff in boxes and couldn't find anything but this one flashlight. He lifted the flashlight to emphasize his point, and the light flickered out. "You wouldn't have 4 AA batteries I could borrow, would you?" "I do. Have a seat and I'll get them for you." I pointed him into my lantern-filled sanctuary before grabbing one of my flashlights and leaving to find the batteries. The doorbell rang again. "That's the pizza I ordered. Can you answer the door and pay him?" I left the money on the hall table by the door. He can keep the change as tip. I called to Xavier as I rummaged through my kitchen drawer looking for the batteries. I found the batteries and headed back to the living room. Xavier was placing the pizza onto my coffee table. "Here you go." I handed him the batteries. "You have quite the setup here," he said, taking in my fully charged laptop. I already had a movie queued up on the screen, ready to watch with my pizza. My backup battery sat waiting next to it. I learned my lesson last time the lights went out. In fact, I had just moved in and could only find one candle that didn't last the night. I went out the next day and found these lanterns. "Looks like you are in for a pleasant night. Nothing like dinner and a movie." His look told me he wanted an invitation to stay. I stood there a bit off guard. He wasn't part of my lights out preparedness plan. "Come on, Eva, invite your hungry neighbor to dinner." He flashed a killer smile. "Fine, you can stay. You're a bit overdressed for the evening I have planned, but as long as you don't expect me to change, you can stay." He looked down at his gray tailored suit, then at me in my t-shirt and yoga pants. "Do you mind if I borrow one of your lanterns? I'm going to run home and change. I'll be right back." In a blink of an eye, he picked up a lantern and his umbrella and was out the door. 15 minutes later, he was back in my living room wearing a t-shirt and jogging pants. While he was gone, I grabbed an extra paper plate and an extra wine glass. We sat on pillows on the floor and watched 2 movies, ate pizza, and drank wine. I don't know if it was the wine, but I was relaxed in his company. After the last movie ended, Xavier said, "This was nice. Thanks for allowing me to share the evening with you." "I enjoyed myself too," I said honestly, and then felt a bit awkward after the confession. "Well, it's getting late. I guess I'll take those batteries and my one little flashlight and head home." He stood and then helped me up. "Why don't you take one of the lanterns? You can return it to me later." I smiled, which was a mistake because then he smiled. "Thanks. I'll take you up on that offer too." We stood looking at each other. He reached out and ran his hand down my arm, then took my hand in his and pulled me slowly to him. We never broke eye contact. He leaned down and kissed me in the softest, strongest, most sensuous way I'd ever experienced. Perfect was the only way it could be described. He broke the kiss. Now that was a perfect end to a perfect evening. Good night, Eva. He picked up the lantern and his umbrella and left me standing there feeling all warm and tingly.
Hope you enjoyed today's story. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be and stay blessed.